What is up, YouTube family? Thank you for traveling with Trey. We are in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota, Route 90, on our way to Wall Drug Store, the famous Wall Drug Store. So once you get out of Rapid City, you start seeing signs immediately for this mecca in the plains. Looks like some cows over there were around one of the signs, but they have billboard after billboard after billboard for this place, so they really build up the hype as you're coming out. So I hope the hype is worth it. Full disclosure, you can really fly on this highway. I have never seen 80 mile an hour speed signs before in my life. I mean, in Maryland, where I'm from, if you're going too fast, you will definitely get ticketed. Here, it feels akin to the Autobahn or something. By the way, my brother Chris is with me. He's the one that arranged this trip. And so we are out here for a week. We're going to try to take you through everything and show you some cool stuff. If you ever decide to make plans to come out here to South Dakota, we are staying west of the Missouri. We will not be in Sioux Falls, but we will hit the Badlands eventually in this trip. And this countryside is just absolutely gorgeous. It is stunning out here. Alright, so we finally made it. We're in Wall, South Dakota, at the famous Wall Drug. And this place is built up like a little 1880s western town. It's really cool. It's got an awesome vibe. Touristy, but it's the kind of touristy stuff that's good. So let's go check it out.
And this cowpoke's gonna crush a penny for you right before your eyes. After you drop in your money, make your own custom choice.
You guys already know that I gotta try some cowboy hats on. So, looking at these Stetsons here, and there's a bunch of miscellaneous hats. So, let's take a try at one of these. How do I look? Dude, that looks so good. It does look good.
Yeah, look, did you see the,
I like this look. I think I could rock this look. So Wall must be the biggest tourist trap South Dakota has going for it, but it's completely awesome too. I got myself a Stetson here, and it's beautiful weather out here. Very cool. Not a lot of traffic here for mid-September going into late September, but the weather's still in the mid-70s right now. So we're going to take a look over at the Harley-Davidson Badlands branch and a couple other places before we get out of here.
The Air Force's newest ICBM, the solid fuel-powered Minuteman. It's smaller, simpler to operate, cheaper to build than the liquid-fueled Atlas and Titan, and will be just as efficient in its particular combat mission.
There's a lot of men and women that, through their efforts,
It's a bomb. Duck and cover.
В условиях угрозы нападения противника приводит к
once
готовность
the missile
имеющиеся
put a nuclear weapon, that could be their 24 hours. I did not mess with
So looking across the road from the visitor center, there's an old decommissioned silo here where that mound is. But this would have been one of hundreds that was out here. And they generally put these silos in areas of the Great Plains where there was a scarcity of population, because these would become the targets themselves. And so you were trying to minimize civilian casualties. So we just got done here at the Minuteman Missile National Historic Site. The visitor center is open and it's very informative, interesting. I would definitely recommend seeing the video if you guys are coming out here. There's still about close to 400 commissioned Minuteman III missiles in the Great Plains areas. A lot of them have been decommissioned, however. The visitor center itself, it's a kind of like a living historical monument to nuclear war. Not necessarily about condemnation. It's not necessarily about advocacy. The message here is that it's a necessity, unfortunately, and it's the kind of world that we live in. But if you are interested in some more recent history, especially spanning the period of the Cold War until now, this is a pretty cool place to stop when you're out here in Plains country. All right, we stopped at a trading post or gas station or something outside of Phillip, and they said this is the last chance gas, so we're getting some gas before we head south to Wounded Knee. If you guys get a chance and you're out near Phillip, we found this cool little prairie dog ranch at this place called the Ranch Store. I would definitely look it up. You can feed the prairie dogs. It's $1 for prairie dog food. Based on the honor system, you just grab it out of a bucket over there near the store, and then you go over to the prairie dog holes. And they're great. They'll take it right from your hand. They're really gentle. That's okay. Just hit him with it. What do you want? You want peanuts instead? I think he said peanuts. Peanuts? You want peanuts? Let me go and try and find you some peanuts. Come here. Come here. 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 Come here. Here. You want that? Here. Good boy. Your buddy's like, why don't I get one? I threw it right next to you, didn't you? You're like the animal whisperer.
I pet him. Did you see that? You ever fed a prairie dog before?
Never. It's insane.
What do you think?
I think this is the coolest thing. I could sit here all day and do this.
Makes you kind of not want to shoot them.
Yeah, they're...
Look, you got 4. What do you think?
The master of all the prairie dogs.
You're like the Beastmaster.
So this is the Prairie Homestead, guys. It's in the Badlands, South Dakota. This was an original setup. This is not a reproduction or a reconstruction. And we're going to check it out right now. So in May of 1862, when a person reached the age of 21, they could file for 160 acres of land for about $18. And then the homesteader had to build a house, plow small acreage, and establish a residence for 5 years in order to receive ownership. Now, the government knew that many people would not make it. They thought that much of the land was untillable and that it wouldn't work. So it was really a gamble if you were going to be interested in do something like this. But a lot of people were industrious back then and made a go of it. And some people made it and some didn't. What was this place right here?
This is the nightclub. This is where I used to come to party. Oh, you got old Tin Lizzy, huh? Wow.
Oh, look at that.
So what are you getting into?
Rustling, little killing, little crap shoveling.
Well, do your best.
Oh, I will. I will. All right, I'm a little bit out of breath because we've been hiking through the Badlands for about 15 minutes, but my immediate impression of this place is just absolute beauty. It's serene, it's calm, and it's just quiet. I thought this place would be overwhelmed with tourists, and it really isn't in mid-September. And you can hear a pin drop where I am right now. It's not too hot, it's not too cool, a nice breeze blowing through, no problems with bugs, have yet to see any rattlesnakes, so I'm absolutely loving this. And it's like the topography out here is just incredible. It's like a different world. Alright, so we made it to Wounded Knee, and we're trying to find the location of the actual gravesite.
This is a dream catcher made out of red willow. It's made here in Wounded Knee at the site. We do our jewelry here. We like for tourists to know that they're made right here, not made in China or
Beautiful.
somewhere. The colors represent spring, summer, fall, and winter, the seasons of the year. They represent the generosity, respect, humbleness, and bravery, our traditions. They represent the north, south, east, and west, the colors of the four cardinal directions. And then infancy, childhood, adulthood, and elderly, circle of life. It's the medicinal colors. And then horsehair represents our western power, thunder, and lightning. And then it's got a piece of bone, carved bone, with our four spiritual colors. Smaller
What's the bone made of from? Is it buffalo?
It's buffalo bone. And
Wow.
then sinew is what we use. We use it to thread. It's like our real common thread.
Wow.
Amongst like my sisters, they do more expensive work, but I do jewelry, dream catchers, things that tourists, not too expensive either.
Sure.
They do stuff that are very expensive. They
Okay.
do regalia and leggings and capes and
Wow.
stuff like that. They cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars to buy in, but yeah, inexpensive. This is a real true dream catcher. I made it with my hand.
Wonderful. And what's your name?
My name is Valerie Drown. I use the 9th and Wounded Knee.
Beautiful. So this is the mass grave marker, guys, from December 29th, 1890. And some of the Indians who were slaughtered here were Chief Bigfoot, High Hawk, Shading Bear, Long Bull, White American, Ghost Horse, living bear, young at rate of bear, wounded hand, and the list goes on. There's about 22 people that are listed right here.
Number 6 is Black Coyote on this grave marker where he's buried in the mass grave with a lot of these 20 to 22 other individuals. The thought was that Black Coyote was deaf and couldn't hear or understand the soldiers' commands to put down their rifles, and apparently an accidental discharge of a Native American rifle started a panic, and then the massacre that ensued. 251 Lakota warriors, men, women, and children were killed by the 7th Cavalry, not just from small arms but from Hotchkiss cannons as well. But they thought that it inadvertently started due to Black Coyote not being able to understand the orders of the 7th Cav. This says that this monument is erected by surviving relatives and other Oglala and Cheyenne River Sioux Indians in memory of the Chief Bigfoot Massacre, December 29, 1890. Colonel Forsyth, in command of U.S. troops. Bigfoot was a great chief of the Sioux Indians. He often said, "I will stand in peace till my last day comes." He did many good and brave deeds for the white man and the red man. Many innocent women and children who knew no wrong died here. The erecting of this monument is largely due to the financial assistance of Joseph Horncloud, whose father was killed here. This looks like writing as well, but it's so old.
Part of the original base,
Probably
maybe?
part of the original stand. Oh, there's more on the other side, Trey.
So you have a Jewish Star of David on the headstone, a Christian cross on the burial site, and we're at Wounded Knee, which is a Sioux Oglala memorial site. I've never seen a cemetery with crosses laid down across the grave plot, and I've seen these on a couple grave sites already. Of course, some are standing up.
And additionally, I've never seen a cemetery where you have military graves next to civilian graves.
That's a good point. I guess just because this area is so sacred to the Lakota, it's as much an honor to be here if you're military as it is a civilian.
Another Vietnam vet.
When I did my Antietam video, I didn't feel peace in that graveyard for whatever reason. Here there's just a true sense of peace. Even though this conflict was a massacre, Wounded Knee, even though it wasn't the last conflict between the tribes and the American infantry and the government, it effectively ended the Indian Wars. Because at that point, most of the tribes had been rounded up onto reservations. There were holdouts, but that's how the story goes. And that's why this place has a special meaning for Lakota. And it should have a special place for Americans, too. For everyone. When I think of American graveyards, I think of very well manicured and well kept places. There's a lot of overgrowth here. I guess in some respects it makes you feel that the whole process is more natural than we make it out to be. We kind of encumber the whole tradition of death with something that has to be fixed up and domesticated, but not here. It almost seems like the land is overtaking parts of the cemetery with the different grasses and flowers growing up. I see all these American flags here, and yet this was one of the worst massacres that occurred under the American flag. And yet these people are ironically patriotic. Many of them. They adopted Christianity. They have flags. They have red, white, and blue flowers at the grave sites. So guys, if you can see over the graffiti here, or under the graffiti, this was the spot at which Chief Bigfoot, known as Spotted Elk, surrendered. It was at that point that the 7th U.S. Cavalry escorted them to Wounded Knee, and of course that's where the massacre occurred. So we just found bullet holes all through the sign. I guess the Dakota are upset about the surrender, and I guess anyone would be if it's your people.
These are big holes, and this is thick metal too.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. At least 14.
I wonder what kind of caliber that was.
All right.
Next time on Travel with Trey, we take you to the original Number 10 Saloon in Deadwood, site of the murder of the famous gunslinger Wild Bill Hickok. We visit Mount Rushmore and the Presidential Wax Museum in Keystone. And finally, we take you to the massive Crazy Horse Monument and take a ride through the beautiful and sprawling Black Hills of South Dakota.